Welcome to my Global Field Experience 1 final project, my cultural autobiography. So throughout this video, we are going to be taking a look first at my own cultural background, analyzing some of the features of my upbringing, which have shaped me into the person I am today. And then next, we're going to take a look at where I plan to teach in the future and the demographics and characteristics of that place. And then finally, we'll wrap it up with a comparison of my identities with the possible identities of my future students, looking at how are they similar and how are they different. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Okay, so first I wanted to take a look at the geographic region which I come from. So I was born in Nampa, Idaho, located in the Treasure Valley in southwestern Idaho, just about 30 miles west of Boise. When I was 3, my family moved a town over to Caldwell, which is the town I still call home. And although the town had a population of about 40,000 people when we moved there, today it has around 77,000 residents, making it one of the fastest growing cities in Idaho. Although it's not too far from the more rural farming areas, I definitely grew up in a suburban area with access to everything I needed, from the grocery store, gas station, church, work, school, all of that within just a few miles of me. However, there is a lack of an established public transportation system and walkable areas, meaning that if you don't have a car, it's very hard to get from place to place. My town's population is 78.3% white. However, the second most populous race is Hispanic or Latino people with 37.3%. So growing up, I was definitely surrounded by people who looked just like me, and other than my Hispanic or mixed friends, was not really exposed to people of different races or ethnicities very frequently. My town is also extremely conservative politically, with very strong family and religious values. So kind of the blue-collar working, family-oriented, going to church on Sundays type, that would definitely fit most families within my town. Next, looking at my family's socioeconomic status growing up, I would definitely say that we fall pretty firmly within the middle class. So my mom, in the middle of the picture here, she is a 5th grade teacher who teaches at a private Christian school, and my dad is the pastor of a large church in Nampa, the city I was born in. And so, although these jobs aren't typically considered as being high-paying jobs, my parents still have access to disposable income after all their needs are met, are owners of my family home, and are also saving towards retirement, which are all indicators of a middle-class family. However, I definitely remember that money was a little bit tighter for us growing up, rather than my high school years or even up until today. I distinctly remember different times where my parents would say that we couldn't spend any money until my dad's next paycheck came through. And my mom has also never been a stay-at-home mom. She's always been working from as long as I can remember. Also, we don't have access to traditional health care, and my siblings and I are all expected to pay for expenses such as our phone bills, car insurance, and our college education. But despite these things, my family is certainly blessed in our financial situation and to have the ability to be able to budget and save for the future. So next, a definite defining feature of my culture is my faith. I am an evangelical Christian and have been since I accepted Jesus at the age of 4, like in the picture here, and was also baptized at the age of 8. And so some distinctive characteristics of my beliefs is that I believe in a triune God, Father, Son, and Spirit as 3 in 1. I believe that Jesus is God and came to earth, died on a cross, was resurrected, and is coming back again. I believe in the inerrant, inspired Word of God, that male and female were created by God in His image and are called to live out the Great Commission to spread the gospel and the Great Commandment to love God and our neighbors. So my parents, they were raised in a more strict, legalistic form of Christianity, which forced them to follow a set of additional specific rules in order to be considered a quote-unquote good Christian. So my mom, she had to wear dresses and her hair up at all times and could not wear any makeup or jewelry. And my dad could only wear long sleeves and pants. And both of them were not able to watch TV, attend concerts, or listen to secular music, or participate in community sports programs because these were seen as being gateways to sin. My parents, they left this way of thinking after moving to Idaho in 2004, just months before I was born. And the church my dad now pastors is a modern, non-denominational church. So because of my parents' upbringing, I think I definitely have an appreciation for the grace of God, that we don't have to do anything extra to make God love us or to be better Christians because we all sin and come short. And yet God, in his mercy, still extends that grace to us, forgiving us of our sins and letting us live without the shame of our mistakes or the fear of messing up so bad that God wouldn't love me. And although there are definitely commands that God gives, it is a joy to follow them and listen to what he says because there's so much more freedom in living out God's plan. I can't think of a time where I didn't ever know God, which is just such a blessing, and I'm just so thankful for the religious values that my parents have encouraged in me. Next up, my education background is another essential part of my upbringing, my current reality, and my future plans. So from K to 12, I attended Centennial Baptist School, which is a very small private Christian school in my hometown of Caldwell, Idaho. And this is the school that my mom still teaches at, and my younger brother actually still goes there. And so my class sizes were always super small. As you can see here, my high school graduating class was a whopping 9 people, but the quality of education I received was still fantastic due to the amazing teachers that I had during my time there. And school has always been a priority for me, and I definitely come from a very academic family. My mom, she has 2 bachelor's degrees, and my dad has his master's and has plans to eventually get a doctorate. So it was definitely expected that me and my siblings did well in school and that we would eventually graduate from college. So my brothers and I, we all excelled in school growing up. We would often compete to see who could get the most A+ on our report cards. And I think because I was good at school and had these positive experiences that I've always loved school and education, even now extending into my time at Northwest. But I think now I found a different passion for education through my studying to become a teacher. I now see education not as something that can be mastered or something that I can excel in or get recognized for my achievements in, but instead as a way to grow in knowledge, to have empathy and be able to understand myself and others, and also recognizing the access to opportunities that education brings. A final group that I belong to that's been really influential to the person I am today is my experience in various student leadership groups. In high school, I served on my school's student body government for 3 years, which was an amazing experience. However, I definitely think the most transformational leadership experiences I've had have been during my time at Northwest. And so my college year, I served as an event coordinator for Northwest Student Activities Board. And then both my junior and currently my senior year, I serve as the residential assistant on Guy 100 in GPC, which is the freshman dorm building. And so these are both positions that I had to go through rigorous interview processes for and have received multiple performance reviews in, which means that it's required a lot of my time and commitment. But through my experiences, I've learned the necessity of human connection and the boldness to be able to initiate interactions with people who are very different from me, which as an introvert, I would say has definitely been my biggest area of personal growth. I've also learned what it's like to work well with people in a team, relying on other people to help me learned how to have crucial conversations, and more practically, I've learned how to plan large-scale events and delegate tasks, and also how to give and receive feedback. But I think especially as an RA, I have learned what a joy it is to invest in other people and walk with them in their personal growth, something that I definitely see continuing in my career as a teacher. So now we're going to take a look at the demographics of where I plan to teach in the future. So I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to end up teaching yet, but I've always planned to go back to my hometown in Caldwell and teach there. So because of this, I'm going to look at the statistics from the Valley View School District located in Caldwell, Idaho. So as I kind of mentioned before, Caldwell has a population of about 77,000 people and has easy access to necessities like grocery stores, gas stations, hospitals, all of that. However, there is that lack of an established public transportation system. But I think the city's downtown area is definitely becoming a lot more renovated, providing a great accessible space for more community events. The town's population is 78.3% white. However, the second most populous race is Hispanic or Latino people with 37.3%. Again, it's also a very extremely conservative politically and has very strong family and religious values. So that's kind of the context of the city again. But to look more at the school district, according to the Idaho State Report Card, the Valley View School District currently serves about 10,000 students from K to 12. And so some important statistics include that their enrollment numbers by race and ethnicity. We see that just over half of students are within the district are white at 51.2%, while 42% identify as Hispanic or Latino. Other important statistics include that 52% of students come from low-income families, 13% of students are English language learners, and 14% have some type of disability. And looking at the Idaho State testing scores, we see that 51.5% of students have met the proficiency rate for ELA and literacy, whereas 34.6% of students have met it in math, meaning that students are not meeting the state goal or target in either subject area. 21.3% of students are also considered to be chronically absent. And so I think these different data sets will be really important when analyzing the differences between me and my future students. So I want to use that and do just that, compare my experiences from those of my future students. So being from the same town where I plan to teach, I can easily understand what it's like to live in Caldwell and also the kind of stereotypes associated with living in that town. Although I might fall within some of those categories, I guess, being politically conservative and religious, I think that will both help me relate to families that I might come into contact with as being a teacher, but it can also allow me to learn how to empathize with students or families not affiliated with those kinds of groups, and understand that there could be stigmas coming from other families or students with people not affiliated in those things. And also working in a public school, there's definitely a greater likelihood that there will be less students who are religious, which is definitely something that I'm not used to, as I've only attended private Christian universities, or schools and university. So I think my ministry and discussion of my faith and the Bible will probably look different than it has in the past. Because 52% of students come from low-income families, I will also come into contact with families that come from a different socioeconomic background than I do. And so understanding that students might not have access to proper care or health resources that they need, or transportation when the buses aren't running. These are things that are really important to acknowledge. And so I think creating a resource handout like we did in class with the SNAPS assignment would be a great way to provide students with options and resources if they might need them. So I definitely think I'll be doing that in the future. Additionally, I'll be serving students who come from different ethnic backgrounds than me. Although 51% of students are white, like I said, 42% of my students would identify as Hispanic or Latino, meaning that I will have to learn about my students' cultures in order to properly meet their needs. And so I think this can be done by asking parents about their cultural background at the beginning of the year, asking students to, in class, share about their family traditions or bring food in, or even me attending different cultural events put on in Caldwell that my students might be attending as well. Now, although I enjoyed school so much and it came naturally to me, based on the student test scores and chronic absenteeism rates, I don't think all my students will feel the same way I do about education and might even have negative associations with school and the work they do there. So because of this, it will be my job to empower my students and show them that all people are capable of being successful learners if they engage with the material they're learning. I will have to use my students' interests to make learning more interesting and fun, and also give them chances to connect with the material. I can provide students with different leadership opportunities within the classroom because I know how transformational that was for me in my education and personal growth as I learned how to take on responsibility and invest in other people. So I definitely want opportunities for that within my own class. So, although my cultural background might be different from those of my future students, I want my classroom to be a place where we can all find connection in the values that we do share together and learn from each other and our cultural differences. So, here are my references, and that is my cultural autobiography.